thing that struck me is the sheer size of the Forbidden City. I am inside just one courtyard right now, and maybe through the haze or the pollution, smog unfortunately, you can see that the buildings just kind of march on and on off into the distance and keep going, and that is going in that direction. Of course, I am surrounded by this courtyard here, and each one of these stone decorative columns have carvings and interesting things on them. These, I think, are clouds maybe, and snakes. But the buildings continue this direction, and I just came in this gate over here where there are another two, at least, enormous courtyards that direction. And all of the courtyards have huge, pardon me as I go upstairs, trying not to fall over, huge, enormous buildings like this, one after the other, marching way off into the distance in that direction, and then behind me in the other direction. And of course, all of the spaces where I am walking are full of locals, tourists, everyone. Many of them have decorative or colorful caps on, so that you can keep track of your tour group. This is the orange-capped tour group with a yellow guy passing through. They also have the flags that you see so that people can keep track of their tour guide and not get lost. Each of the courtyards have side entrances, kind of like this. The main building, most of which you can't go through, but the doors will be open and they'll have preserved areas there. But how you get through each courtyard is through side gates like this. Walk down a ramp, walk through the courtyard here, and then pop through another side entrance that direction and just keep going. This is opening into yet another courtyard through these large doors into another amazing courtyard with many people. At this point your brain's going, ow! And you can see many of the side buildings, and over off in the distance they're doing some preservation work, so it's protected over the roof of one of the other places in the complex. Obviously, continuously ongoing restoration project here. Never ends. This is the inside of one of the buildings, sort of a throne room or a relaxation room. And they've got decorations, I think, or maybe they've replaced some, but very elaborate carvings inside the room. But you can't get inside because we're gated off here. So there is an amazing mob scene all around of people who are looking into the room. This is another one of the stone columns decorated. This one I believe has cranes, which I was told was peace and long life, which sounds good to me. And then behind and further down is an entire courtyard, all of it carved stone, steps. You can see there's some people walking to give you a sense of scale and perspective. You can see the elaborate paintings and decorations. This is just a typical example of the underside of the roof. Sorry, there's a tour group here. This building, you can see, is less well preserved. The paint is not nearly as colorful. You can imagine the expense of trying to keep up preservation for all of these buildings all around us here inside the city. So some are repainted and some are not. An ongoing restoration project, obviously. But still, the buildings are beautiful, whether they've had a chance to be preserved or not. Lots of people enjoying having photos taken in front of these elaborate doors as a part of one of the buildings here. So I've seen people who they like to grab the door knocker or act like they are knocking on the door while their recorder is making sure the picture turns out okay. You need to have multiple shots to make sure that it works. So I've discovered that these heads that are everywhere around the stonework, these things, when I started paying attention, I realized, of course, they have a hole right here, and they are part of an elaborate drainage system for the walking area. Because if you look here, and there's another set of head things sticking out on the other side of that, and of course all the way down here are drainage holes that the water goes through and pops out the dragon's mouth on the other side. Pretty cool. And now we are standing in Tiananmen Square. We've just come through that gate here, and this is of course the massive building with Chairman Mao, and it's kind of hard to take photos. It's actually, I've got an open spot here, but it looks like I have to move on. And Tiananmen Square, we're in the entrance to the Forbidden City.
The Forbidden City. The crowds are starting to make their way in now. All of the tours just came up this interesting, we call it a stairway, sloped, so you can walk up it. Here's the view of the Forbidden City, looking south from Beijing Park, looking out over all of Beijing. The hotel is somewhere over that direction, and I am going to go and walk this way to Tiananmen Square, which is at the far end. City.
And the Forbidden City is very big. There is about 960 meters long and 750 meters wide.
Wow.
Inside, there are 72 hectares. There are 90 courtyards, 980 buildings, 9,999 and a half rooms. Actually, in 1973, our government calculated inside only 8,704 rooms. So why it is said should have 9,999 and a half? Because, when the emperor he built the Forbidden City, he thought he is from the heaven. And in the heaven, there are about 10,000 rooms. So the emperor thought he is the son of the god. And in the Forbidden City is his residence. He can't have the same number with the god, so half less.
Since 1978, when China opened its doors to the outside world, it has experienced an extraordinary explosion of economic and personal freedoms. Although there's still a long way to go, China is now richer than many democratic third world countries, with literacy levels double those of India. On the occasion of the 2008 Olympics, China has also made investments in culture and venues dedicated to the event. Thousands of construction sites are open. The urban landscape is being changed deeply. Today, it's marked by striking architectural features and design solutions, at times intensely debated, yet originality and courage. Almost like a bubble, there's a building floating on water. At first sight, people ask, what does that strange dome, in titanium and glass, without any opening, right in the middle of a lake in the heart of Beijing, hide? Then, on the outside, one notices some dark red leather, and through a semi-transparent golden net, you have the entrance to the Opera House. You can also see figures walking in the lounge, the foyer, in the transparent underwater underpass connecting the building with the city. First of all, the opera is a sort of gateway to elsewhere, to another place. I believe that all great opera houses have done the same. Take Sydney, Bayreuth, or Gagne. They're all buildings where the entrance is a viatical. You enter and pass through a space that makes you lose part of your daily bearings, and you're now ready for the show, ready for the opera. The building is rather enigmatic by day because you can't see what's going on inside. It's a perfect building on water. It mirrors itself, it's disorienting. It says nothing about itself. It suddenly breaks open, it opens up. It's the light that makes it open. The opera theatre is the project's most important element. The walls become opaque when the surrounding rooms are dark and translucent when they are lit. In the foyer, spectators can be seen from the distance created by the semi-transparent walls, a psychological and symbolic distance between the world outside and the world of the theatre. The National Grand Theatre, built in a place rich in history, aims at becoming the symbol of new China, of its place in the contemporary world, and of its ability of making history in the future. It's an icon. It symbolically bears witness to the value of culture as a means of mutual international knowledge. Right from the start, I said to myself, I'm designing a building for these times. Iguzzini Illuminazione collaborated with Paul Andreu and lighting designer Kaoro Mende in defining this space. Its extraordinary interior volumes stand out by night thanks to the artificial lighting of the common spaces and foyer, signalling the presence of the National Grand Theatre in the urban landscape. Man's life is making boundaries and then crossing them. The light is there to say this. Is it a boundary? However, the light beyond it draws you towards it. This way we tried to distinguish the opera house from the theatre and auditorium on the other side, so that they could be perceived more like galleries, lighted as such, and then to create in the public spaces a well-planned and well-defined lighting, typical though of street lighting. The lighting project regarded, above all, the passage areas and the large dome illuminated from the bottom up. The lighting of the floors open to the public is uniform without any glare. Perroquet fixtures with anti-glare cylinders were used. They were positioned along the external parameter of the building, hosting the theatre's halls. The large dome required a very thorough and complex lighting project. The surface was divided horizontally into 4 levels. Professional light-up walk recessed fixtures were installed for the lower part. Thanks to the wall washer optics, they afford perfect lighting of the wall. The perroquets with spot and flood optics were used for the other levels. They were installed at 2 different levels, one at about 5 meters and the other at about 30 declining shades and densities on the wood surfaces. Zoom spotlights were also used to light works of art displayed along the hallways. Then for the rest of the building, we have fixtures that do their job. They work. They've proven to be reliable elsewhere, and I love them because they're well designed, yet at the same time sober. It's always the same with lighting fixtures. There's no such thing as absolute sobriety. You cannot hide them, yet hiding them is not even desirable. You cannot reduce this space. This space is huge. But if you wish to make it even larger, if you wish to make it become a place of adventure, personal emotions, I believe that it cannot be uniform, that it should be completely revealed before the eyes of the observer. So the light is far from being perfect, but it's good and it's different. Beijing's Grand National Theatre is a touchstone of the global fabric. A theatre in the world and in the city. A new dream machine open to all. There's no other complex like it in the world.